begin NFL Live with breaking news from Adam Schefter. Per the Jaguars, Travis Hunter underwent surgery today to repair his LCL, which will sideline him for the remainder of the season. There was no additional damage beyond his LCL. The procedure was done by Dr. Cooper and Dr. Kaplan in Dallas, very renowned doctors. He's expected to return to full football activities within 6 months. As we welcome you into the show, Dan Orlovsky, Mina Kimes, Marcus Spears. Dan, we knew that Hunter would miss some time, but not for the whole year. How big of a loss is this for Jacksonville?
That's significant. I mean, we talked about this when the initial news broke, that one, there was a lot given up to acquire him. And then two, there was a lot of expectations on what they were going to get from that, both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. And this is a team in Jacksonville that started off on this rocket ship. And there's this playoff contending football team, in part because some of the stuff that Travis Hunter at least was bringing to the splash play element of their offense. And now they've hit a little bit of a rough patch, and they don't have that opposite person. Obviously, the trade for Jacoby Myers is a big deal, but not having this talent in this football team, or at least on this football team for the remainder of the season, for a team that feels like they're going to need as much big playmaking ability as possible on this back-end stretch, it's going to be a significant loss.
Actually hurts them on both sides of the ball too, right? Because by the end he was playing both offense, defense, playing it pretty well, and it felt like the trajectory in both positions was going up. And watching the loss to Houston, pass defense was a major issue for Jacksonville. It was a huge area of need going into the season. Part of the reason why I think they wanted Travis Hunter to play both positions. My mind immediately goes to now, with a full offseason of rehab, do they reconsider him playing both sides? And I'm not saying that it's why it caused the injury. I'm just talking from a pure time management perspective, getting the most out of him next season, because this completely changes the way he has to approach the offseason as well. And I think that's something that the Jaguars really have to take seriously and consider what is best for the long-term development of the player, as opposed to extracting the most value based on what they gave up in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, you alluded to it. I just, look, the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this news is that both sides of the ball is going to be very difficult. And I know this injury is something that happened, obviously, in the field of play, but you think about wear and tear. He's a rookie, already losing the season. And also going forward, like, how much are you going to ask? Like, we all know this. We've been doing this show long enough to know that if you playing both sides of the ball in the NFL, you're going to miss significant time during the season at some point. At some point, it's going to catch up with you, the wear and tear. And I know Travis talks, he's Superman and he can do it, and the body type and all of that type of stuff. But the injury initially had me in my thoughts about, you know, is this guy going to be able to play both sides of the ball? And does it serve, the real question is, does it serve Jacksonville well in order to have Travis Hunter playing both sides of the ball? I get it for a play here or there, and I understand what you're trying to do. Trying to appease him and what he wants to do in the NFL. But long term, you're not going to play both sides of the football and last in the National Football League. Playing one side gets you going enough, as opposed to playing two with his slight of bill as well. All of that came to my mind when he said he was missing the rest of the season.
Yeah, we had really seen him start to come on strong, too, and start to really make an impact on this offense. That part of it's disappointing. Also, this is a young man who just loves the game, so feeling for him today, as I know he'd love to be out there. Let's get to the action of Monday Night Football, the end of Week 10. In Green Bay, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles visiting the Packers on Monday night. Felt like about 13 degrees out there with the wind whipping. Early fourth quarters where we pick it up. Not a whole lot of scoring. Eagles lead 3-0. Hurts finally finds Saquon Barkley 41 yards before he gets tackled.
Yeah, great reset by Jalen Hurts, and then just a little bit of a blown coverage by Green Bay. And then Saquon turns a check down into a massive play. This, to me, play of the game. It's 1st and 10. You take your shot. You get the ideal coverage, and it's just an outstanding track of the football by Devontae Smith. That's something he's become one of the best players at a position in the NFL end.
Eagles up 10-0. Finally some scoring happening in a defensive battle. Under 6 minutes left, same score. Josh Jacobs making something happen for the Packers. He fights to the end zone for the touchdown. Field level. It was amazing to watch how strong he was.
Yeah, great run.
Packers down 10-7. 20 seconds to go. Second down. Packers from their own 36. And Love hits Bo Melton for 18 yards. The Packers would spike it with 5 seconds remaining. And then the Packers lining up for a 64-yard field goal. Brandon McManus actually had a little try before that, and it was short. Then he did it for real. It was still short. Here's Jalen Hurts, though, after a win in Lambeau that may not have been a pretty one.
I think in hindsight, it was slow early on, kind of finding our footing in the game, and we found it when we needed to, right? I think, some opportunities where I definitely like to have some opportunities back, regardless of whatever's going on. You got to keep shooting. You got to keep going. You got to keep attacking, and you have to trust within the unit that this is what we're going to do and going to have confidence in that.
Swagoo, I was thinking about you during this game because I thought as a defensive guy, you probably love one like this, right? I mean, as much as people want to see things happen offensively and see some action happen, but the Philly Eagles still get a win. What can you say about what stands out to you about the way they did it last night?
Championship pedigree. I mean, Jalen alluded to it, finding times to make plays in a game that you saw how it was going early, Boogie, and you mentioned the defenses, but obviously the kick out to Saquon for a big play, the push down the field to Devontae, and he goes up and wins. This has become about players sometimes for the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is without A.J. Brown having a significant impact, but his pocket movement to me was one of the themes of the night, just extending plays, keeping them going. We saw Micah Parsons on the prowl, and Jalen was able to elude. That is one of the advantages of having a guy like him in these games. And also, while on the move, making good decisions. Outside of the fumble that got punched out, this was about turnovers in this game. This was about who was going to get a critical turnover in this game or who was going to make the play when it was needed. And Philly once again showed championship pedigree. I didn't like the end of the game with Green Bay having an opportunity to kick a field goal, but ultimately the team that has championship pedigree found the 2 or 3 hidden plays that they needed to make in order to come out on top.
You thought that was the right call?
For Philly to go for it? Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to that later. Go ahead.
Here's go for it, for sure.
Mentally tough. Is there a more mentally tough and more mentally resilient team in the NFL? And I would say competitive greatness. It wasn't pretty, and I actually think it was more performance, or a better performance than maybe the numbers suggested. But that's kind of what this team is. Remember in the spring or a month ago, that's why Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni remind me a little bit of Brady and Belichick, because their run wasn't always pretty, but it was always that competitive greatness. And I go to the Devontae touchdown pass, and I just think of that was the one shot they got all game. Formation into the boundary, and it's A.J. Brown at the bottom of the screen. So it's quarters defense, right? Every defender has a quarter of the field, that's their zone. Naturally, the eyes are going to be paying attention to A.J. Brown at the bottom of the screen. So you get the ball fake, the tight end in the back, scissors. That downfield safety, that's where Jalen punts. They're trying to get that safety to sit. I've now created the space for you, Devontae Smith. You have to go win. And you can go all the way across the field, which he does, and then makes a play. That was the only shot they had, though. And I go back to some of the quarterbacks that we've got to sit with on Monday Night Football this year. And, Sam Darnold was the guy that was like, with the way defenses are playing nowadays, you only get so many shots every game. And to win, you have to hit them. And I think that's the example last night. They didn't have many opportunities, Philly. One. And Jalen Hurts made that one play with Devontae at that one time, and it's the reason they win the football game. It's competitive greatness.
Yeah, thinking about it on the Packers side, I mean, Jordan Love had that shot to Christian Watson, but he didn't get that completed. The
difference in that game with great teams.
You never know. They might have scored there. All right, Mina, it was a low-scoring game, but what about the defense from Philly last night?
My big takeaway from this game was that the Eagles' defense addressed what I thought was probably their biggest issue, was the lack of four-man rush, right? As much as we've worried about the offense, watching them at times, that defense has not gotten pressure with four. And Jalen Phillips was a massive part of that. So was Nolan Smith returning. But you watch both of the sacks. I mean, Jalen Phillips is partially responsible for both of them because of the attention that he drew. First, the back, so Nakobe Dean comes through. And first it was the Jalen Hunt sack where Jalen Phillips is chipped, so Jalen Hunt gets a one-on-one. And then Nakobe Dean comes through because the back is worried about Jalen Phillips. I also thought he was extraordinary against the run. I think this is a big part of the reason why they traded for him. Vic Fangio really wants edges who can set an edge, and he was excellent, obviously, on the fourth down, but throughout the game, I thought he was making numerous good tackles. So I come out of this game not panicking about the Eagles' offense, as bad as it looks at times, and feeling a heck of a lot better about this Eagles' defense as they head towards the stretch.
Yeah, and you really got to feel good about the Packers defense, too. I mean, in their 3 losses, they've held teams under 20 points. We'll talk about the Packers in just a little bit, so don't worry. We'll get to that side. And we're just getting started on NFL Live. Joe Burrow's back at football field, 2 off of it. In 1967, one man, Rodney Davis, showed the ultimate form of courage during the Vietnam War. As the Marines celebrate their 250th anniversary, Jason Kelsey has the story of one Marine who personifies sacrifice.
Valiant, selfless, courageous. Words that describe Sergeant Rodney Davis, a 6-year Marine veteran.
Just knowing that your grandfather did something like incredible and put his life on the line.
How old were you when you learned about your grandfather's actions in Vietnam?
Maybe like 5 or 6.
Offensive lineman Tyler Steen spends his weekends protecting the right side of the Philadelphia Eagles offense. A fitting connection since his grandfather, Rodney Davis, always embraced the role of protector.
He protected his siblings. If there was ever any trouble in the neighborhood, you know, they could count on him going in and taking care of whatever.
Shortly after graduating high school in 1961, Davis joined the Marines. In September of 1967, Sergeant Davis found himself in the thick of battle in Vietnam as platoon sergeant.
His role was a right guide. And as a right guide, he was basically third in command of the platoon. He made sure all the men had anything they needed.
Davis and his platoon were under attack from over 2,500 Vietnamese soldiers.
And the NVA were just coming at them. And they started throwing grenades. Sergeant Davis and his 5 Marines with them were in a trench. And it was almost like a ballet. Grenades would land in the trench, and the Marines would jump out of the trench. And it would go off. Then they'd jump back into the trench because so much enemy fire coming at them. And finally, one grenade went high and made the Marines duck their head, and they lost sight of the second grenade.
A grenade had landed in that little hole, that bunker, and he, saw that and decided to go and cover up the grenade and absorb the blast from the grenade and save a bunch of people's lives. So.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
Sergeant Davis jumped on a grenade to save the lives of 5 soldiers. A selfless hero, dead at the age of 25.
All 5 of those Marines were white when he was African American at a time when Jim Crow South was still prevalent in Macon, Georgia, and elsewhere.
He gave his life for other, he gave up his life for other Marines.
On March 26, 1969, Sergeant Rodney Davis posthumously received the Medal of Honor. What does it mean to your family, your grandfather's sacrifice? Do you guys talk about it often?
Yeah, I think it means a lot. Just kind of, again, knowing that type of sacrifice that he made is like something that you definitely want to try to live up to. I can, honor my granddad by go out there and play and try to play to the best of my ability.
Your grandfather, when he made this decision, was 25 years old?
Right.
You yourself are now 25 years old? Have you thought about that?
This is somebody that, when I growing up, it's like, oh, he's a hero. Now that I'm his age, it's one of those things, again, that just brings it even more to perspective, just kind of, the magnitude of it.
Just an amazing story. And on this Veterans Day, we want to give a special shout out to a friend of the show, Mina's dad, Peter Kimes, for his 20 years of service in the U.S. Air Force. Mina, I know this means a lot to you.
Yeah, obviously very proud of my dad. Born on Offwood Air Force Base, grew up on a bunch of Air Force bases, and it was just his birthday, so I want to also say belated happy birthday to Pete Kimes, who's the reason I love football and also just the rock of our family.
Gives me chills. So well said. We got a lot more coming your way today on NFL Live. As we do, Elton Jenkins on injured reserve, signing linebacker Christian Welch from their practice squad to their active roster. Just unfortunate. Jenkins suffering a fracture in his lower leg during Monday night's game versus the Eagles. And basically the second that it happened, they got him carted off the field right before halftime. And bad news for a Packers offense that's struggling. Back to last night, Green Bay 7 points last night, were its fewest in a home game under head coach Matt LaFleur, while the Packers 20 points over their last 2 games are their fewest in any 2-game span under LaFleur. Here's Jordan Love after the loss.
It's frustrating, and I know as a defense, they definitely have every reason to look at us and say, "What are you guys doing? You guys need to figure it out and help us out, put up some more points because they're doing a great job." So it's frustrating, but we'll stay together. We'll keep the energy high and find ways to get better and be better as offense.
One of the most fascinating things about being on the sideline last night was watching LaFleur, who's very much involved in talking to Jordan Love, and he's got his play sheet there, and he's looking at that thing like, what can I do to get him more comfortable? And some of that has to do with the defense, but what did you see from the Packers offense last night?
Now, last night is why I hate when people say protect the football. I just don't believe in that. This offense needs to rip the Band-Aid off. They got to stop playing so cautious. I think you're watching a quarterback play cautious. I also think you're watching Matt LaFleur call it cautiously. The reality is Jordan Love, people have this narrative around him like this walking interception, walking turnover. He's really not. He's been actually really good valuing the football, top 5, top 6 in the NFL over the last 2 seasons. He's not that guy.
But hold on.
But here's my thing, Marcus. There's situational football, I get it. Like this situational football and a half, I would take a shot there. But if you're aggressive, you take the shot there. This play that Troy talked about, how are you not aggressive there throwing the football? For me, that's a cautious quarterback that is trying to protect, and not make a mistake.
Yes.
All right. Really fast. Let's let Mina go first, and then we'll go right to Swagoo. Go ahead, Mina.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I agree with everything Dan said. People think that Matt LaFleur is calling conservative game plan to protect Jordan Love. I don't think that's true. I think he's calling the game the way he does because of the offensive line, which is bad right now. It's very injured, right? The problem is this. They can't run the ball. Like the offensive line might not be good at pass protection. They sure aren't good at run blocking either. And Philadelphia was basically daring them to run the ball. Josh Jacobs faced light boxes 2/3 of the time. He averaged 2.9 yards per carry.
Yeah.
So you have that. Okay. Then, again, with the conservatism, on early down, first and second down in the first half of this game, Jordan Love had an average depth of target of 1.5 yards.
See, that's outrageous.
I understand you're trying to protect him, but all you're doing is setting up third down because you don't, without Tucker Kraft, you don't have yards after the catch guys anymore. So my feeling watching them is, and I agree with Dan on this, first down, you got to throw downfield. When they tried play action at some point, it worked because all they're doing right now is playing for third down, and the game is so tight that every little drop, every little penalty matters. It's way too conservative at the moment.
I agree.
Okay, so I agree, and Dan, I wasn't cutting you off to disagree with you.
Sure.
Why? Like, my question is why? Move the quarterback. Find alternative ways to create explosive plays. It's not like Jordan Love is not a guy that's athletic. Like, why don't you try to create some of these explosives? I've heard we talked about how good Matt LaFleur is at his job. Why can they not figure this out? Or Mina brings up the offensive line. Is he worried about his quarterback and the decision making?
Well, don't you think, too, so no Matthew Golden last night.
No Tucker Kraft.
No Tucker Kraft. Don't you think they missed?
Jaden Reed.
Yeah.
He's been out for a while.
Romeo Dobbs went out later. Don't you think they missed Tucker Kraft,
But this team was by committee.
Go ahead, Marcus.
But this team was by committee when they were having success.
No.
We talked about how they didn't. Go ahead.
I'm with you, fella. And I understand your why. I think we're all probably searching that. Like, we're all probably trying to figure out why. And we've talked about the offensive line. I think from the offensive perspective, Marcus, I would tell you this. As an offensive play caller, when you know your offensive line is not a great offensive line, the last place you want to be is 3rd and 7 plus, 3rd and 8. That's the story of the game last night. They were terrible on second downs. Don't play the tape, Aaron. But then what happens is on early downs, you're like, well, let's just get efficient. Let's just try to get 3 yards on first down and 4 yards on, so we're not backed up. But it's actually like reversing the thought process. It's
so then
hurting
my
you more
question
than anything.
becomes, But Dio, then my question becomes, why do we think this is a potential championship team then?
Because their defense is so good.
We all have relegated that. Yeah. That if you worried about an offensive line, should we be having a conversation about Green Bay being one of the teams that can win a championship? Yeah. If you have to operate like this, we saw a couple weeks ago this team get beat by the Carolina Panthers. Yeah. And as much as we talking about how much we love this defense, I saw Rico Dowdle run for 160 plus yards. And now the following week, we having a conversation about an offense that's afraid to be aggressive because of the offensive line. How can we talk about Green Bay in the vein of being a championship team in the NFC, and we've seen 2 weeks where it's catastrophic on both sides of the ball?
I want to say this. Until a couple weeks ago, the offense was actually moving the ball well. I think the loss of Tucker Kraft has been monumental. The offense ran through him, right? And this was a offense predicated on Yak that compensated. The way they compensated for the offensive line was they had a human monster truck who got yards after the catch. He's gone. So they need to make adjustments based on the players they have right now. You don't have Yak players. You have guys who can win downfield sometimes. Not like Philadelphia. But you got to take the governor off of this because they can't play the way they played earlier in the season and win.
Marcus, so are they protecting the quarterback? I mentioned the interception stuff. The only guys that are throwing interceptions at a lesser rate in the last 2 years are Hurts, who's historical right now with it, Lamar, Caleb Williams, Matthew Stafford, Patrick, and Herbert. Jordan Love is not this walking giveaway that people kind of have painted him to be. So I really don't think it's this protecting the quarterback. I think my perspective is now we need to unleash him. We need to hand him over the keys and say, this is your football team now, and you got to go be aggressive for us to be good enough on offense.
Yeah. Let him go be
but
the start.
This is the team. This is the team that we saw go to an NFC championship
2 years
with
ago,
no
Marcus.
number one.
But 2 years.
But that's what I'm saying.
But they had a good offensive line back then.
The O-line.
Go ahead.
The O-line. It's the O-line. And then, no Golden, no Reed, no Kraft last night do matter.
You're not going to get Kraft back, but you will get Golden back.
I just think it's a mindset thing. I think in the whole building, it's a mindset of, on offense, they play defensive. They play defensive. Marcus, you're right. They
Stop
just play
playing
defensive.
for third down.
Correct.
Yes.
Stop playing for third down. I'm telling you, every third down is like, oh my God, it's a tight window throw and he barely caught it. You got to cut that out.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Sorry,
we'll see if they can.
Because the reality is Tucker Kraft is not coming back.
Correct.
And you just lost Elton G. So either you, to your point, Dan, and I'm agreeing with you and Mina, become explosive, bro. This is almost like YOLO. Like, go for the gusto early in games if you know that you have these issues.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to comprehend with us having this conversation. Because the way we talking about them and all of the issues, there's no path forward outside of you trying to create explosives.
Yeah. It's urgency. Create urgency on offense.
Okay. Well, they have the Giants next, so we'll see if maybe they can do that. This Giants team's allowing over 27 points per game this season. Time now to read and react. That might help. Sticking in the NFC North, Dan Campbell and the Lions beat the Commanders on Sunday in dominating fashion after Campbell took over the offensive play calling duties. Dan, what do you make of Campbell calling the offense now in Detroit?
Yeah, the big takeaway was how aggressive they were down in the red zone. That's an area that I've, for the majority of the season, I've been watching going, okay, how aggressive are you going to be? Jameer Gibbs out of the backfield, but watch the timing of the throws from Jared Goff to his receivers. Jared Goff hits his back foot. Those receivers are expecting the football. St. Brown catches it and goes vertical. Jamison Williams across the middle. That ball comes out of his hands now. Before Jamison Williams had his head turned, catch and run. That aggressive mindset in the red zone was a big change.
Yeah, by the way, as you know, Dan Campbell has been very involved in this offense for a longer time.
I like the fact that this is a championship caliber team.
Yeah, he's taken over. All right, to Chicago, where Caleb Williams saved his best for last again in Sunday's win. The Bears signal caller threw for 77 yards and a touchdown and rushed for another 52 and a score in the fourth quarter against the Giants. Williams now has 4 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter and overtime this season, tied for the most in the NFL. Mina, what did you see from Caleb and the Bears in their comeback win on Sunday?
The out-of-structure playmaking that we saw from him in college, and you saw it a fair amount in this game, and it would have looked better if not for some drops on the part of his receivers, who had 5 drops, tied for the most of any team in any game this season. But Caleb still has that ability to make magic with his legs. That honestly is when he is the most accurate, when he's on the move, throwing downfield. It's when you see the dimes. It's the in-structure part that's still a little bit up and down, but out of structure, he is special, and you saw that on the final drive.
Yeah, he sure looks like a #1 overall pick out of structure, to your point. All right, to Cincinnati, where Joe Burrow returned to practice on Monday for the first time since his turf toe injury in Week 2. The Bengals currently have an 8% chance to make the playoffs per ESPN Analytics. They're 10-1 to make the playoffs at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Here's Joe Burrow Monday with his thoughts on the Bengals' playoff chances.
Yeah, you know, our division is wide open. There's a lot of, I think that Pittsburgh's 5-4 at this point. We play them this week. So, you know, everything is still there in front of us. It's very rare that our division looks like this, but it does this year. And so, you know, I think we'll be at least in it until the end.
Marcus, do the Bengals actually have a chance if Burrow can return to play this month?
I mean, you look at it, Boogie, they're 2-0 in their division, obviously thanks to the old god, Joe Flacco, but it's all in front of them. You know, you win the division. We saw a Carolina Panthers team years ago go to the playoffs at 6-10. Now, do I think they're going to go undefeated in the AFC North? Hell no. I think Baltimore is just starting to ascend, but if Joe Burrow coming back is going to maybe give this team a lift, obviously offensively, but defensively, if they get something from him being back, then you see what you have. Just protect him. That's all I care about when we start having conversations about Joe Burrow now and going into the future. Protect Joe Burrow.
Yeah, what cannot happen is that he comes back and then gets injured again, God forbid. Okay, new on NFL Live, Jerry Jones with his first public comments about the passing of Cowboys defensive lineman Marshawn Kneeland.
Hard to believe the content that was on the other end of the phone. It was in the middle of the night when we all got the news. I thought it was so fitting that on the games Sunday nights, all the Sunday, that they recognized what the loss of Marshawn. We're going to do a special helmet decal for the remainder of the season. But this is a reality check that at the end of the day, the human things of having someone's company on earth, all of those things come to mind in times like this.
Marshawn Kneeland's death has left not only the organization reeling, but so many who loved him reeling as well. In an ESPN exclusive, Elizabeth Merrill and Anthony Oliveri take a deep dive into his final days and hours. And according to interviews with his family, his agent, he was often smiling, kind, confident, and steadfast in his belief that he belonged in the NFL, leaving them searching for answers. For more, go to ESPN.com to read. LCL, which will sideline him for the remainder of the season. Good news, no additional damage beyond the LCL. The procedure was done by Dr. Cooper, Dr. Kaplan in Dallas. He's expected to return to full football activities within 6 months. We'll keep an eye on that. Let's go to some what went wrong for some teams that did not win on Sunday or Monday. Steelers lost a game in LA on Sunday night. Mike Tomlin did not love being asked about his quarterback's performance. Dan, what went wrong with the Steelers?
Predictability, and it's really predictability when it comes to people, not necessarily scheme. You go to the first third down of the game, the Chargers make it clear, like, hey, we're going to double DK Metcalf on that slant route that you want to run on 3rd and 5 all the time. You go to the next third down, we're going to double Pat Freiermuth because that's really the only 1 or 2 guys. And so now as a Packers fan, you're watching this football team go, uh-oh, your keeper game, they kind of know that formation. Your RPO game, you want to dump it off to DK. Dupree's playing that. And so the takeaway is, if I was a Steelers fan and the Steelers, I'd be very fearful of how that game went because teams defensively are saying, we're going to double DK, we're going to double Freiermuth, and then you don't have anybody else.
Okay, help is on the way for Pittsburgh. New on NFL Live from Jeremy Fowler. Free agent cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. signing with the Steelers practice squad, per a source. Samuel, top 25 free agent in March, recovering from spinal fusion surgery in time to sign for the season's second half. Now he gets a new start with Pittsburgh. All right, what went wrong for the 49ers? Let's talk about that. They have no answers for that Rams offense on Sunday. Swagoo, what happened for San Fran?
Yeah, listen, getting off the field on third down was their issue. And then when they brought pressure, Matthew Stafford tore them apart. And that, give a lot of credit to the LA Rams. This offense is rolling at a very high level. But the fact that they can't get off the field, especially against these offenses that's in their division, is going to be something to be reckoned with Seattle and obviously what LA is doing. It's unfortunate because I think Fred Warner's injury and absence has a lot to do with this, how he's able to roam the middle of the field and kind of take that area away. But it's a problem when you can't get off on third down on any team in the NFL.
Let's zero in on the NFC a little bit and the real contenders at this point. We told you how important last night's game was on Monday Night Football between the Eagles and Packers. After a Rams win over the 49ers Sunday, the Eagles win over the Packers last night. Here's a snapshot currently at the top of the NFC. The Eagles currently occupy the top spot due to a tiebreaker over Seattle based on a higher winning percentage in conference games. Philly the favorite to win the NFC at ESPN Bet Sportsbook, followed by the Rams, Lions, and then the Seahawks. I'm actually surprised Seattle's so low. Dan, you saw the NFC standings there. Is Seattle the team to watch, though, in the NFC going forward?
There's obviously an elite tier in that conference. I think the thing that I love about Seattle the most is they don't pressure just to pressure. What I mean by that is they're very specific in how they want to attack your protections. And whether you're a play-action passing offense, they're going to attack that play-action pass scheme. Whether you're a drop-back offense, they're going to attack that protection scheme. They're not just calling the blitz to sit there and say, hey, it's 1st and 10, let's call it pressure because they want to. They're very specific about how they're going to either attack that scheme protection or person weakness. That's a big deal when you're talking about going against Detroit, LA, Tampa, the Eagles. I think it's the thing that really defensively they do better than any other group in that conference.
The improvement against the play action pass is the thing that really jumps out to me, because even last year when that defense took a leap under Mike McDonald, they still struggled at times with play action. You remember they traded for Ernest Jones midseason. It felt like they were kind of figuring things out. And now it's just become such an unbelievable strength of theirs, the way they play it, the way they pressure quarterbacks and play coverage. And they're able to do that in large part because they're so good at defending the run out of nickel or big nickel with Nick Amenwari on the field as the 5th defensive back. They allow less than 4 yards per carry when they're in their nickel defense, and they're top 3 in success rate. So you look ahead to this Rams game, a Rams team that we talked about this on Monday is putting multiple tight ends on the field and shredding teams in base defense. They're not going to have that opportunity against Seattle because Seattle is not going to match that by putting extra linebackers on the field. And I think it's going to be really about whether or not they can stop the run out of those lighter looks, but it's something they've been exceptional at this season.
Yeah, I love that both of y'all are talking about it. I'm gonna show how they give this simulated pressure and use these linebackers. But let's not get it twisted. This is about people. I think this is the best front in the NFL. When you start talking about from left to right, I think it's the best front in the NFL, and they complement each other so well with how they rush and how they play. But the pressure that Mike McDonald adds, which we watched him do when he was the defense coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, they use these linebackers to dictate pressure. Dan, you kind of alluded to this when you were talking about it. And they run twists and stunts off of it, which makes it very difficult. They're fast and physical. You see how the displacement happens. And all they're doing is sometimes not even trying to confuse you. All they're trying to do is get one-on-ones because they feel better about their guys than what your offensive line can do. You see it here. You got 4 to a side. They're dictating pressure with the center slide. You get the center slide away. You get 42 on a wrap, so the center loses attention. Leonard Williams is just destroying the running back and the left guard, and they're creating these one-on-ones on the outside. It is beautiful. But, y'all, this is about people. And look, I love when defenses dictate and when they want to pressure and they want to create these simulated pressures. If you turn on the Seattle Seahawks defense up front, they win at an alarming rate when they have one-on-one situations in run and pass, which is why I think this team can potentially be a Super Bowl dark horse in the NFL.
People are why they're so good at defending the run out of nickel. I should have been clear about that. It's large part because these defensive tackles and edges are kicking, like, they are winning against the run. I mean, this is one of the best. I went for some word, and then I remembered I'm on TV. Y'all, I really think this is like the best run defensive line in football right now. And they consistently win. They're unselfish. They always have a great containment plan against quarterbacks and can run. But, yeah, Marcus, it's such a great defensive line. I know you love this because they don't have a Myles Garrett. They don't have, a TJ Watt. But they're all super talented and unselfish, and they play together really well.
Yep. Just to clarify, Marcus's tape, the running back had to block DeMarcus Lawrence twice, and then the running back had to block Leonard Williams.
Good luck.
Cool.
Young fella. Yeah, cool.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Have fun.
Oh, my. Those big fellas. Watch out. Okay, after a dominant win over Tampa Bay, the Patriots don't look to be slowing down anytime soon. Patriots power surge. Okay, Dan and Marcus, dive into what's driving this hot streak. And it all